Can you share with us what that entails and what it is?
I can. Oika. It comes from the Greek word, ancient Greek word oikos, which means basically home. In the ancient Greek conception, it meant more like a house. It's also actually, the term oikos, oik actually comes, it's the root of the word eco, as in ecology, and the word economy, which is actually meaningful in this sense. In the ancient Greek, it really meant person, meaning the man, and it meant person of the house, and then it also meant all the person's possessions in the house, and that included things like the furniture, and the children, and the woman, and even the slaves. So I really couldn't stick with oikos, and so I feminized it and took the word oika instead. But basically it means home. I'll just go a little further to say this, that I'm an ecologist. Okay, so there's that word oika showing up, eco. For me, oika means it's the intelligence of nature. That there's an intelligence embedded deep within nature that actually precedes our intelligence. I study the history of the universe, and that includes the history of the earth, the history of nature on earth. And when you study it, you realize that intelligence was going before we showed up. There is an intelligence in nature. But the good news is that because we're part of nature, we can feel that intelligence. In fact, that's why we can feel it, is because we are part of nature. That's why we can feel it. And guess what? It feels good. The intelligence of nature, when you feel it coming through you, it feels really good. And I think we can also express it. So when we're aware of this intelligence, when we get to know it, when we become familiar, when we become part of the family of nature, we can express it. We can live by that intelligence. I think a lot of our culture and the inheritance of accidents of history have somewhat divorced us from this intelligence, and we're feeling it. And I think the conversations that we've been having, the conversation this earlier with Michael about how wellness seems to be absent, is a symptom of that divorce. And Oika is about trying to restore that intelligence, getting us to feel it. As I said, I'm a scientist, and so I study the history of nature. And one thing I just want to say, that ecology is the science of relationships. And when we think about ecology, we think about it as the relationship between this bird and that tree, or that insect and the amount of rainfall. Or we tend to think of it in terms of the things out in nature. But ecology is the study of relationships, right? Humans are a part of nature too, so ecology is the study of human relationships. In fact, ecology is the study of our relationship. Our relationships. It's the relationships between me and this chair right now, it could be. So I think of ecology as this incredibly broad study of relationships. And when you do that, you realize that, it's not just talk, this thing that we're connected to nature. It's actually an inescapable truth. If you study long enough and hard enough, and you realize that that's not just an idea or a sentiment, it's an empirical fact. And that's partly what you see in this video is me tracking the story of the cosmos, starting in the Big Bang. Actually, I start a little bit before the Big Bang. I start in the mystery before the Big Bang. But that mystery doesn't go away. It's still here. It's in this room. So I always try to start any talk of cosmic evolution in mystery, and then keep that mystery alive, because it's still here. Science is very limited in how it knows the world. And so there's always still a mystery. And I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, and we can get to the next question, but my proposal here, the reason I'm here, first of all, I want to say this. I want to just quickly read the mission statement for GSN. Part of it says, I don't know my glasses on, so this can tell. The sustainability movement is at a crossroads in defining the path that will be taken towards either a life-sustaining course of action or a life-depleting route. And thus, we find ourselves square at the center of the wellness movement. The future of wellness may be when human beings are able to reconnect with the awareness that we are part of one cycle of life, finding resonance among each other and understanding the well-being we seek can be found in well-being with each other. That's why I'm here. This is like my call to action. Like what a guy that you just saw up there, or an ecologist, be doing in this room. That's my work described there, is to take seriously this idea that we can reconnect with the cycle of life, the rhythms of nature itself. I'm taking that seriously. I'm taking it so seriously that it's a science. I'm taking it so seriously that it's a form of spirituality, even. That's why I'm here. And one last thing I just want to say before we get back into the conversation is that as I studied this whole grand arc of the cosmos, nature, that brought us all here today, I realized that when you're in right relationship with nature, with the world, what feels good is good. And you guys are in the feel-good industry, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm still pretty naive. I think you're in like the self-care, right? But when the self is it feels deeply embedded in nature, when the self is in right relationship to nature, self-care, lo and behold, is world care. It's the world, when you take care of yourself and you're in right relationship, that's the key. Like, that's the caveat here, is that you've got to be in right relationship. But if you're in right relationship, self-care is world care. Healing the self is healing the world. I think that's like a wicked, powerful opportunity. Sorry, I'm from Massachusetts. And I want to also frame this. That's the light, okay? But we're also in a moment. There's another Greek word I want to introduce. You probably know this one, chronos, right? That's linear time. The Greeks had a word for linear time called chronos. They have another word for time called kairos. It's not linear, it's a different kind of time that is a moment of profound transformation, right? That it's almost a crisis. Has anyone heard the term the meta-crisis? Anyone? Well, that's what we're in. We're in a convergence of crises. Crises this, crises that. There's mental crises, there's economic crises, there's climate crisis, fundamentally it all boils down to a crisis of consciousness, a crisis of separation, I believe, from nature. I believe that's the source of all of these crises. I forget what my point was, but that we're in a moment, that the inflection point, as new technologies are coming online right now, that we've gotten glimpses of. The first glimpse we got was when the algorithms took over social media, and look at what it's done. I mean, we're all old enough to have seen the rise of this situation, and we see what it's done. We're feeling it. You're feeling it in your industry. We're feeling it in our lives. And that was just the first iteration of artificial intelligence, was the algorithms that would curate content for us. We're now entering into the next phase of this artificial intelligence world, which has gone from curation to creation. It's starting, ChatGPT, as powerful and as useful as it is, and I use it too, it's creating a world, okay? It's gone from curating content and now creating our reality for us. The next phase is even going to be more insidious, okay? We're going to go from curation to creation to control, if we're not careful. In fact, it's kind of inevitable. That's where artificial intelligence is taking us. So my proposal here is that we restore natural intelligence as a response to artificial intelligence before it's too late. And that's where I think your industry finds another level of relevance. We need what you do now more than ever. Again, I might be naive, but I just think that there's a powerful moment here, and I want to be a part of it, and I want to help you be a part of it, if you're up for it. I think there's this incredible healing moment. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I brought Oika here, to introduce it to this. And I know this is like a sub-niche of a niche, and so, but that's perfect. I used to say if I could just reach 10% of people with this message, then we have a chance. I've reduced my goals down. I'm at 1%, and then I had to actually reduce it again. So I'm actually at 0.1%. So if 0.1% of you reach out to me after this, then I think we're on the right track. So sorry if that went long or